How's everybody doing? Good? I was just gonna, if you guys are ready, I was just gonna kind of start out like from a scouting perspective, just kind of wanted to give you like a little snapshot of what we're doing right now. We're building our preseason board right now. There should be 1,200 guys or so that are going to get cut at the cut down. We're up to like 1,400 reports. So what we're doing right now is we're building our board and we're stacking it by position. And then from there, obviously, we'll talk about it as a staff, and we'll look and see who we're really interested in and who we're thinking about claiming at the cut down. So right now, we're just writing a ton of reports. Our scouts are doing a great job, and we're just really excited about the 53 cut down and that whole process. We're calling other teams too. So basically, our scouts, we split teams up by scouts, and they're going to call the teams, and they're going to figure out like where their needs are, where their surplus is, any players that they're willing to trade. So they're going to do things like that. So we're going to cover the whole landscape. Nothing's really going to catch us by surprise, is the way that we look at it. So, we're just, we're excited about our roster and, this whole 53-man cut down. And we feel like we can really add some players and make this roster better, make it more competitive. We like our team now, but we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to upgrade, and we're going to do that by any means. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Dan, how different is the job this year with all 1,200 of those guys coming free at the same time as opposed to 300 or so earlier and the rest of them on the final day?
I actually like it a little better from the cut down standpoint. I like it better just because you have them all at once. They're out there, and our reports are done. It gives us a little more time to evaluate them, and our scouts to watch the tape and put the reports in. So either way, it'd be fine. But I like it this way. I think it'll be more efficient for us.
Dan, what positions? I know a lot of. You're looking to upgrade the roster. Any specific positions that you think that this roster needs upgrading at right now?
I think our philosophy is we try to upgrade everywhere. We want to make this the most competitive roster in the NFL. And, one way of doing that is to have great depth and add to the competition. And, so that's what we're going to do.
Dan, with the trade up to 1 and your draft pick inventory, as well as kind of the depth you have right now, how do you weigh maybe jumping the gun and trading for a guy, maybe with a player-for-player trade or a draft pick trade, as opposed to waiting it out on the waiver wire?
I think for us, at this point, we don't want to give away picks. I think the big thing for us is let's keep our picks, and let's be efficient and let's trust our scouting process. And when waivers come out, again, we have those players identified, and we're going to be ready to, claim a guy if need be.
You guys have like a top 10 waiver priority. How helpful is that when you are trying to figure out how many claims you want to put in and you're evaluating players?
Yeah, I think, it gives you the first bite at the apple, if you want to say. So, we're in that top 10. So more than likely, we're going to get who we want from a waiver perspective. So it makes it a lot easier. And hopefully, we get some of those targeted players if they do get released.
When you're factoring in the roster, there's obviously different cap situations you have to manage. Veteran players obviously become guaranteed after week 1. How do you weigh that in your roster evaluation?
Yeah, I think you definitely got to think about it, and you got to weigh all those things. You don't want to get stuck with a player and have to pay him all year, or a veteran player that's has an injury history and then he gets hurt, and you knew that you shouldn't have done it, but you did it. So all those things are weighed throughout this process. We're thinking about all those little things, and we'll be prepared.
Are there some injury situations on the team right now that have you looking for maybe specific positions that could help in case those players aren't ready?
Yeah, I think anytime, there's injuries, every team's dealing with injuries right now, but I think everybody's kind of in the same boat, and from our perspective, we're just looking to get better as a team. So it doesn't matter what position it is and where we are from a roster count or who's hurt. We're just trying to get better and find better players and upgrade players from our depth standpoint.
From an undrafted free agent standpoint, are there any guys who have kind of gone beyond your initial projections? So,
Yeah, there's a few guys we like. I don't really want to give away the secrets because other teams, may be watching this, but there's some guys that have done a really good job for us undrafted wise, and that's really a credit to our scouts. They did a really good job through the process and undrafted free agency. So, yeah, we're excited about some of those guys.
with a veteran guy, you have the opportunity to potentially cut them and bring them back. With a guy who's not a vested veteran, you subject them to waivers. Is that something you have to weigh heavily when you're kind of figuring out that initial group?
Yeah, I think we do have some veteran guys on our roster, and those are all things, again, that Scott, myself, Coach Reich, we're all going to weigh, and we're going to do what's best for the team.
Dan, you guys went out the first week of free agency, signed Deshaun, signed Tuttle. In terms of kind of rebuilding a 3-4 defense, I mean, I know there's still some flux in that defensive line. What are you specifically looking for, and what are you trying to provide Avero in that process?
Yeah, I think, talking to Evero just about the defense and the philosophy, he does want those bigger, longer defenders, guys that can take up space. They call it half a gap. So he's just looking for those bigger, longer bodies, and obviously he wants athletes. So I think that's kind of what we're doing along the front. We're just going to target those type of guys.
Dan, along those lines, what was the story with McCall this week?
Yeah, Marquand did a good job for us. He came back in shape. He's a great kid, and I just think it really came down to fit. Just talking to the new staff, talking to Evero, and talking to the coaches, we just felt like it was time for us to kind of move on and give him an opportunity to, find another home. So I think that's why we did this now, is just to kind of give him that opportunity.
Fit how?
Just fit in our scheme. I think you want guys that fit your scheme and what the coaches want, and he wasn't doing what they really wanted. So I think from that standpoint, we just had to move on.
Frank said yesterday that one preseason game could potentially change the fortunes of a player. From a scouting perspective, how do you buy into that, and what do you have an example of that in the past?
Well, I think just even this game coming up against Detroit, there's going to be guys. The roster isn't set, so I mean there's a lot of guys in the back end of the roster, the 53 roster, as it shapes out, that this game could be life or death for them, from a perspective where they're competing against somebody at their own position. So they got to come out and compete, and we're looking forward to seeing them compete on Friday.
What's impressed you the most about Bryce Young since you began the evaluation process to now, and why do you feel like you guys have put him in a good position for success?
Bryce is just an impressive individual. I think first and foremost, him off the field, just the kind of person he is, the kind of human being he is, that really makes you fall in love with the kid. And then obviously you can see what he does on tape. He's special. He's got the pocket presence, he has the poise, he has the accuracy, the anticipation. He has all those things you want. And, this isn't Bryce's show. He's not doing this alone. We're not dependent on him to go out and make every single play. That's why we bought guys in like Thielen and Miles Sanders and DJ Chark and those type of guys. So this isn't something that he has to do alone, and it's not all on his shoulders.
4 quarterbacks on the roster now. How do you, with the final preseason game coming up, how do you see that position playing out?
I think in terms of play time, that's up to Coach Reich. So I don't know what his play time is going to be this weekend. But again, it's a competition. Whoever's out there playing, we're going to evaluate. And if we decide to keep a third quarterback or don't, that's going to be the decision, for Scott and Coach Reich.
Dan, is the luxury of having a second kicker who's done pretty well this preseason, could you maybe flip him for a pick for a team? A lot of teams seem to be looking.
I think, that's something that can definitely be talked about. We haven't talked about doing that, but he's done a good job for us. From our perspective, Eddie's our kicker, and when he comes back, it's his job again. And if anything, it gives us a good emergency kicker in the future.
Wanted to ask you too about Wims. How much did your Cardinals guys, Adrian and Sean, former Cardinals guys, were they banging the table for him, or how did he get on your radar?
I think it was just, when we generate lists during training camp, we had some injuries at the position, so we generated some lists. And he's a big, strong, physical guy that we liked, and obviously Adrian knows him a little bit. And he came in and he had a great workout for us, and it was really an easy evaluation, and we swooped him up right away.
You obviously part of the evaluation of Icky when you guys drafted him last year. You saw him progress there. What do you feel like he's grown in over the last year? What does he still need to improve in? Because I know his pass protection has gotten a little bit of criticism here lately.
Icky's one of the hardest workers you'll ever be around, and not just Icky, but everybody. They're striving to be great every day. Icky's one of those guys. He's going to come out. If he makes a mistake, he's going to correct it. I have no concerns with Icky at all, and I think he'll correct anything, and I have full confidence in Coach Campman too.
What's your view on your nickel position right now?
Yeah, I mean, Chin's our nickel right now, as you guys know, and that's something moving forward that obviously we're gonna look at, and we're gonna evaluate every position and see where we need, and that could be a spot that we look at moving forward. But if we feel good with some of the guys, depending on this last preseason game, then we'll roll with where we're at right now.
You guys have signed a lot of veterans. From a scouting perspective, you guys obviously want to develop talent. How do you weigh that balance?
I think the veteran thing, that really comes down to, obviously they're good players, but I think we needed leadership in our locker room, and just on our team, and bringing the Justin Houstons and the Thielens in, and the vets that we signed. I think it's more about the leadership than anything.
Very good. All right.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.